Several years ago, I came across a stunning flower known as an autumn crocus. It was on the rocky hills surrounding Lake Galilee. Now, they are remarkable flowers that can grow and indeed flourish in the most unlikely places and unfavourable conditions. And many of the people I've spoken to over the last few weeks have reminded me so much of those flowers. And on a daily basis, I continue to be blown away by the way that so many people have managed to keep going and even keep growing in the midst of circumstances and conditions that are seriously hard and deeply uncomfortable. Back in Genesis 13, Abram, later Abraham, parted company with his nephew Lot. Lot chose the land to the east that looked lush and fertile, so Abraham went west into a land not of his choosing. Yet as he faithfully followed the steer of the Lord and sought the Lord, even in that place, perhaps especially in that place, he grew and he flourished, much like the beautiful autumn crocus. And later, many years later, his descendants would return to that land, which would then be described as a land flowing with milk and honey. Now, not many of us would have chosen the wider circumstances or some of the personal circumstances we find ourselves in. Each of us carry cares and concerns that at times may feel overwhelming. But as we know from the Easter story, in Christ there is a real hope, a hope for here and now as well as a hope for what's to come. Jesus was introduced by a few names in his lifetime, and while at Christmas we celebrate Emmanuel, God with us, at Easter we celebrate Yeshua, God rescues. One of the most regularly repeated reminders in the Bible is that when we feel overwhelmed, usually when life isn't going the way we might want it to, or the way we might hope it will have gone, God isn't just holding us, he's carrying us. And while we might hold our cares and concerns, he is in fact carrying them too. God is big enough to hold everything in his loving and almighty arms. And that itself is certainly cause for praise and thanksgiving. If that reflects a little bit of the road behind us, then let's now just have a little think about the road ahead. We've all had to adapt to so much so quickly over the last year. Largely, I believe each one of us have done amazingly well. Receive credit where credit is due. Over the course of this last year, a few folk in different ways have asked me, when are we going back to pre-COVID church? And I've had to respond that in the aftermath of any global or even national or local upheaval of any kind, a return to the pre-days is never going to be a real option. We can't go back to the pre-COVID world or the pre-COVID church. Rather, once we've got our bearings, caught our breath and picked ourselves up, we must move forward. That's our only real option. You'll recall that over this last year, much time, thought and prayer has gone into what we've been calling Church Next. And now we're entering into the preparation and planning stages for that. As we fast approach our annual parochial church meeting, our APCM, on the 26th of April, where we'll be looking back on 2020, we'll also be looking forward to what God has in store for us as we start to take the long road out of COVID-related restrictions. We know change is needed, and differing degrees of change will certainly come to most areas of church life, something that's recognised by most churches and almost every organisation up and down the country. For some, change will be like a breath of fresh air, precisely what they've been longing for. And these words, these direct words, will excite you hugely. For others, however, these words may feel unwarranted, unwanted, and deeply uncomfortable. I, the wardens, and the PCC understand that. But change, consultative, considered and careful change, nevertheless, is a necessary part of moving forward. You can look forward to getting more details of what's being discussed and what's being worked through in the closer build-up to the APCM. But for now, I want to give you a sense of some of what we've been building on. That is your early input through last summer's extensive church-wide survey, which carried a very particular and especially pivotal question, which was, what do you think we should be considering as we seek to bring our buildings back into use? Attached to this, you can find a Wordle or a word map. It's attached to the email, and that'll give you a sense of the weighting of some of the repeated responses to that question. The input from the survey, along with numerous one-to-one conversations with many of you, several conferences and webinars with people locally and nationally, alongside the work of several Church Next visioning groups, have given us an increasingly clear image of what is right for us here. That said, there are still plenty of details that still need to be weighed and considered as we prepare for what lies ahead. This ongoing work is going to be carried out by smaller planning teams which are currently being assembled. Those teams will be led by myself or one of the church wardens, and each will include further members of the PCC, as endorsed by the PCC at their last meeting. My hope is that you'll be moved to pray for the planning teams as they come together and as they begin to filter and form a wide range of ideas and proposals into a more coherent plan, which will be brought to the PCC as soon as realistically possible in the next few months or so. The road recently behind us has been rough and changeable, but the new, fresh road ahead is being prepped, and it's going to be good. I'm excited, and I really hope you are too. Finally, I just want to offer you a really important reminder. This Sunday is Easter Sunday. Really excited about that. Now, please note that our morning services, both of them, are starting at different times this week. They'll both be in-person services as well as online. They're going to start at 9:15 a.m. and 11:15 a.m. respectively. If you'd like to attend, then please remember to book in with the church office ASAP. Thank you.